I want to say a few months for a while. And what really caught my attention about them is I think just the photos. The photos are so cool. Like it's like, man, it's like almost like a photo shoot. Like some of the pictures that I've seen, they're just super cool. Different locations, different parts of the world. Really interesting. So if you guys are watching this, definitely go follow Ambitious Outsider and Akro. And just again, welcome to Universal Groove.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
thank you for having us. Really excited about this and excited that I get to be a part of all the interviews that you've been conducting and just being able to add to that list.
Yeah, for sure. Good company. I caught up on a lot of your back catalog this week, just checking it out after we locked in a date. So I watched a ton of your content. It's cool. Good. We're in good company.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And yeah, as the artists that have given me the opportunity to talk to them, it's really been cool to hear their story. And I really like, we did a little pre-interview and got a chance to kind of sit down and talk and, kind of hear your guys' experience on collecting and stuff like that. And then, yeah, it's really good times. And it looks like you guys have just been doing it for a long period of time. And that's really cool. And I want to kind of share that with others out there that may be wanting to start collecting or are a collector or just kind of just into the music, where to find your shows that you guys have. That's another big one why I reached out as well. They have a show that plays nothing but, Smith's music, Morrissey music, and I love that music. So when I seen that there's a show on Mixler that you guys have, again, it's every day is Sundays, right?
Every day is like Sunday
Yeah.
at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, so I love that show and just the way that you guys do it. I think it's definitely super cool that you guys take calls. You guys have messages on there. There's you guys take requests, which is kind of like that old school feel of like the radio. So I like that. And then of course, I mean, you can't go wrong. The music that you guys play is just awesome.
Cool. Yeah, that's it. That was kind of inspired by a radio show that we did previously. That was a soul show that we actually did on public radio, and then we kind of rolled it in. I know. Well, actually, Stephanie had been talking about this Smith show for it kind of been in the works for so long, and we finally
Many
decided
years.
to. Yeah, years. It's
It
like
took a pandemic to make it happen. So, and if I didn't have those calls, those dedications, all the requests, it would just be me playing for myself. And I don't really need to go live to do that. So I'm really glad that I'm fortunate to have a full catalog of the collection of the Smiths and Morrissey. So any request that anyone has, I'm able to play, and it's all vinyl. So something that I am passionate about and something very personal to me. But I would not be able to have that show without everyone's support and their calls.
Yeah, so let's talk about that because I went to a record shop not too long ago and I have a couple Smiths vinyl that I've collected. And I remember the guy that I go to, one of the shops that I go to, he's really candid. And when I asked about like a Smiths record, he's like, you could probably go fuck yourself, man. Like that shit's too much. And I was like, wow, like he didn't even want to sell it to me. He was like, it's just so expensive. So do you have an idea of how many records you have and maybe how much these are worth or how much that you've paid to get all these records to play on vinyl?
Just the Smiths and Morrissey ones.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure it's has to be over $5,000. I'm sure, but
Woo!
um, yeah, right now vinyl is, it's the hot commodity right now. So I'm very fortunate to be able to have purchased those things over the course of my life, as well as anytime I've traveled to England, France, to Spain, I always hit up record stores, and a lot of the singles were released in the UK or in Europe. So I was able to purchase them at like a low price, just, for like $5 or less. But now, I mean, there is a lot that it's pretty
well,
expensive now.
and that's the difficult part about his catalog or their catalog is that they release like it'll be like the 12-inch that came out 6 different times in 6 different countries, and they all have a separate B side or like an
Yeah.
extra track.
Mm.
So it's like there's so much to get, So you got to really be the catalog goes. They knew what they were doing. I think that luckily that band was like, I think Morrissey probably was the one that saw the value in vinyl. So even in the lull of like, you know, late 90s, 2000s, they continued to press.
Yeah.
Everything is pressed basically, you know?
Yeah, and like that's the amazing part is the whole entire collection, basically almost every single song is pressed on vinyl or pressed on singles or, you know, unreleased songs on the B-side. So it was always something really important to Morrissey to continue that throughout the early 2000s and everything. That's why some stuff is expensive because there it was limited quantities at that time. So not a lot of interest in vinyl back then, but I'm so thankful to Morrissey that he continued that all the way from the early 80s until now.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the first time that I ever heard the Smiths and Morrissey singing. And so I had a friend in high school, and she was a huge fan, and she always would talk about them. And one time I went to her house, and I remember she put it on. She had like the greatest hits of, I think she had Morrissey's greatest hits. So it wasn't the Smiths, it was Morrissey's greatest hits. And I remember her playing it, and I was just like, what is this? Like what is this? And because I was really, you know, I'm really big into like hard rock, and at that time I was a kid, and I just didn't really understand it. Like I knew that he could sing very well. He did kind of sound different, right? He has a different kind of flavor, different type of tone. I don't think there's anybody that can even say that they're even close to what that guy sounds like.
The yodel,
And
the Morrissey yodel.
yeah, the yodel, like he had like that yodel going on. And I'm like, what is this? Like, this is garbage. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about me. And I think like in my heart, when it takes for me to like earn, like it takes a band for me to earn their love, I like have a huge love for them. So Bjork is like one of them. Like
Right.
I listened to Bjork before, and I just like, what is this crap? It took me like 2 years to figure out what she was doing, and now I'm like a huge fan. Same thing for the Smiths and Morrissey. Like it took me like 2 years to like come back and be like, let me give it another spin. And I kept listening, and then I just fucking got it. Like, wow, this shit is amazing. So
Yeah.
when was the first time that you guys heard his music and the Smiths music? You remember?
Yeah, well, for me, it was when I was 14. The first album that I got was Louder Than Bombs, and it was the Smiths. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the songs and the lyrics speak to the person that I am and what I was going through at that time in high school. It's a very difficult time for everyone, but you know, it just spoke to me, and it was something that was like, wow, like someone really understands how I feel, even if it's like someone from far away. So it always hit home for me in high school, listening to the Smiths. And then um, as I got older, there's different albums going into, you know, Morrissey specifically that you can relate to and have a song for everything that you're going through in your life. So if it wasn't for Morrissey, like I don't know where I'd be, but he's really been there for me my whole life since I was like 14. So um that's like why this show is really special to me, because it did take a lot for me to be able to play that out to everyone, because everything was so special to me and something that I just held so personally. So it's kind of like me putting myself out there. So it's nice that there's a huge following because of that show, and everyone that loves Smith and Morrissey, they understand it. They just get it, like you said. And you know, we have a chat, and everyone's just so excited about it, and they're requesting songs from, you know, just like different albums that no one ever listens to. So it's something really cool to be able to share that, especially now in quarantine. We can't go out and be with people, and so it's something like that gets us through the week, I guess.
Well, it's kind of cool to see almost with that show. I feel like because people are so fanatic, is like I mean, and we don't, as you know, you do an internet show, you're connecting with strangers that, you know, we don't know who's on the other end. And it's kind of cool to see, like, you know, or you like to at least even imagine that same connection that you made when you were 14, like jamming in it in your room. like with this show, maybe that's happening somewhere, like, and it kind of, we get those messages in the chat and people are requesting like these obscure songs, or they're just throwing it out there like, oh my God, like I can't believe there's other people that love this like me, like that they didn't, weren't aware, or they just weren't connected with that. So that's what's so cool about that show too, is it really does. I mean, it kind of ties into the soul music. We do the soul music shows, and it's kind of like that same, or at a DJ gig, that same vibe of like, you get people that those songs, those Smiths and Morris songs really like pull the heartstrings on people,
Yeah.
And people and callers from all over the world. Like, that's the reason why we do the show early, is we have people calling from the UK, from Italy, we've gotten Peru, someone listening in Tokyo,
Chile.
Chile. It's just all over the place. So it's something really cool to share worldwide.
Yeah, and I love that. So when I'm tuning into your guys' show, I love that there's like, the voicemails, because you hear the different accents. That's really cool. And it's just like everyone just tune in, and that, I love that too. Like, I love that. Yeah, like this music that we listen in our bedrooms, is like someone out there is probably hearing this music either for the first time, and this may change their life like it has changed ours, and that's really cool. And something
that's the hope, right? Like, that would be like, if one person gets it, like that, to me, that would be like worth all the shows.
You actually have a story, like your coworker saw you post about your old coworker, and then their daughter like started listening.
Yeah, it's like, and it's totally random. One of my, just recently this week, just this last show, like an old coworker from 15 years ago or something, like hits me up and is like, oh my God, like me and my husband and my daughter, like my daughter's totally into your show, and like my husband's gonna call in, and you're just getting these, and they love the, obviously they love the music. They're like, oh man, these are our songs. My daughter loves all these songs now. Like, we taught her, she practices them on guitar and all this stuff. So if it's worth it. I mean, we kind of had that approach, or that kind of motivated us with, when we were doing like on public radio here, like the FM dial. Unfortunately, it didn't work out to where we could continue it, and hopefully in the future it will. But we would get all these random calls of like, hey man, I'm over here in the driveway, like changing my brakes. What show is this? Like, what time? Because we would do a fill-in show, so we didn't have a regular time slot. So they'd be like, what night are you guys on? And we'd be like, oh man, I'm sorry, like this is a one-off, and so it's like, to me, that was like, because that was me when I was little, is like stay up late and just scan the dial. Like, it didn't even have to be my favorite station. I would just scan all through the dial, all those low numbers, the college stations, and try to just your ear catches some, and then you're off on a mission.
Yeah. I wanted to get into some records with you guys. They're Ambitous0utsider and Akro, we're going to play some records as well on this podcast here. So do you guys want to get into a record and maybe explain the record that you guys are going to play?
Sure. You want to start off with maybe that? Did you bring a Morrissey or Smith's record, since we just talked about that?
Yeah, I brought one out for you to play. So I picked this single, 12-inch single, because it gets requested almost every single time we do the show. So it means a lot to a lot of people, and it also showcases a different sound that a lot of people that are watching right now might not be used to when they hear the Smiths or Morrissey. So I'll play that, and this is from the 12-inch single The Loop. Sing Your Life, and the B-side is The Loop.
Yeah, if you guys, I see that there's people watching. So if you guys have any comments, or if you guys are on the Instagram, again, we're live on YouTube. The links are in the bio, but feel free to drop some comments. You guys, they're going to be able to see these comments. If you guys have any questions, drop them, and we'll answer them as we go here.
I see. Yeah, let us know where you're listening from. I can see a couple comments. I see James in the UK. He's part of Symphonical Records. He is on right now. So, go ahead and get in the chat and let us know where you're listening from.
And here we go. Morrissey's The Loop.
I just wanna say I haven't been away. I'm still right here where I always was. So one day, if you're bored, by all means call, because you can do it, but only if you want to. I just wanna say I haven't been away. I'm still right here where I always was. So one day when you're bored, by all means come, because you can do it, but you might not get through.
Nice.
Thanks for letting me play that on your show. This is actually a really interesting LP as well. It's a single, but it's pressed on 45. So the sound is just so amazing, really clear, and it's loud. And that bass line just bumps when you play it. So it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love that song. I wanted to go into just your passion for this for Morrissey and the Smiths. I wanted to give people an idea. Like, so can you go into like how many shows you've been to and some of maybe the countries that you've traveled to see Morrissey in concert?
Yeah, well, I promise I'm a normal person, but I've seen Morrissey like around 30 times or so. But that's also the course of my whole life. So it's not like I did that in 1 year or 2 years. And I've seen him in England. One of my favorite shows was in Manchester, England. That's where he's from, and the crowd is just totally different. And actually, the last thing I did before the world shut down was I went to see Morrissey in London. When we came, it was on a Sunday night, and then we came home Monday, and Tuesday was March 15th, right? Everything shut down.
Yeah.
So that was the last thing I did. I always say before the world ended, but I think it's going to continue. Yeah. Right now.
Seemed like it ended.
But I've also seen him in Spain, Mexico City, and all over the United States. So yeah.
As a super fan, I'm gonna call you a super fan because that's definitely a super fan. Because I'm thinking of like, okay, my favorite band is Rage Against the Machine. I don't know if I could see them back to back, or maybe if they play maybe once a year.
Oh, these ones will go 2 nights, 3 nights. If he says I'm playing 3 nights, they're going all 3 nights.
That's crazy. What is it? What is it about like going that many times? And is the set list the same, or do they kind of change it up here and there?
Sometimes it's the same, but there will always be like a couple songs that are different.
Mhm.
And each tour is different, definitely different. And then each leg of the tour is usually switched up. So and then it's also just like a party. You get to see all your friends, like all my Smith and Morrissey friends. And it's just something that keeps us going. And it's kind of like listening to the songs. Like you can't just listen to it once. You have to keep playing it to keep going, you know?
Yeah, that's one thing a friend told me about the Smiths and Morrissey. It's like you got to listen through the whole song. Like it's one of the bands that can really keep me entertained for like an entire song, you know. And
Mhm.
that really stuck with me because I feel that is true. Like anytime it comes on the radio or anytime I'm, you know, if you guys are jamming, I just got to listen to the whole song. It's just one of those bands.
Yeah.
I want to talk about too. So now you guys are also obviously record collectors, and can you talk about maybe some of the first records that you ever bought, if you can remember?
Yeah, like for me, I think just going to the flea market, I just grew up going to the flea market. So my whole life. So when everyone was throwing away LPs, I'd be the one like buying them for 50 cents, 25 cents, or sometimes they just give them away. So that's something that is really cool about living in San Jose is that a lot of people in our area, the way we grew up listening to oldies and music that was available here. So it was something cool that I have those 45s that I maybe got for 50 cents, but I still play them like today.
Yeah. That, I mean, I was kind of the same way. I started with a collection of my dad's, or my dad and my mom had maybe a couple hundred LPs. So I'd go back, you know, real young. I'd go back and kind of play records. My dad had a pool table and a record player, so I'd go back and throw records on. And um, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I remember the first actual record I bought on my own at Kmart. It was this Cheech and Chong 7-inch. I don't know why. Who knows why my dad? I mean, now looking back, I probably do know why they were letting me buy Cheech and Chong records as like a kid. But no, I grabbed this Cheech and Chong 7-inch, and I'd sit there and play it and just be like. I mean, eventually, I inherited which I still have, my dad and my mom's couple hundred, you know, which was a mixed bag of classic rock, oldies, Beatles, like you know, all the big mainstream stuff. But it was really cool because instantly I had the bug. I mean, I was buying tapes from when I was like
Yeah.
like six, maybe fourth, fifth, sixth grade. I would buy tapes at the flea market on the weekends when we would go, and I instantly had the bug for records. So I kind of just instantly was off and running when my dad finally gave me the blessing, like, all right, yeah, they're yours. You know, for a long time he's like, oh no, those are mine.
Yeah, I wish that's one thing that I do wish that I had still is my tapes that I used to make. And we talked about a little bit. I would make these tapes when I was a kid. From like I would listen to Power 106, I would listen to 92.3 with Theo, and what I would do is I would pray like as the song is playing, I would hit record, and then like at the end, just hope that Theo or someone wouldn't say something at the end, you know, like please.
Talk over the last verse.
Yeah, like he always talk over the last one. All right, that was. I'm like, oh, you know, like cut it off and be all pissed off. So I'd always have to like kind of stay up late to try to make sure like you know the DJs were gone and they were just playing the music, you know.
There's thunder here in San Jose.
Yeah.
Just heard it right now.
And you know what? That's the same thing as like I would call and call and just wait to dub those tapes. And if I had those, and that's kind of the inspiration, like you were saying with the Smith show. We do the same thing we do the oldie show that goes by Sweeter Than Sweet. The call-ins, it's funny that we did that in like as a nod to like us staying up and calling into the radio and trying to win tickets or win that free record or whatever it was. And it was actually kind of surprising that, I mean, and maybe it's just us being naive, we don't understand our audience, but there was like a whole group of people that didn't really understand how to do that, like how to call into the like call the number. They're like, wait, I'm calling you. I'm like, no, we're not gonna pick up. It's an answer, like leave a dedication. Like, well, what do I say? Like, you know, and then once people hear it,
they understand.
You know, you hear the show and then they're like, oh, okay, because like, you know, which is not the ideal way to do it. But during those radio shows, we end up taking more dedications actually live during the show, which is harder to juggle and put in, which we make it happen anyway. But we end up with more because, you know, people hear it and it's like, oh, that's how it works, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, the radio is so important. Like back to the cassettes before I could even go buy cassettes. Like we kind of talked about it before. We would buy singles because they were like $2 and didn't have money for the full record. But I would be that person calling the radio station at 10 years old, 11, and I'd be requesting my songs, which I mean, they had to know I was little. I don't know, but and I wait by the radio and to hit record so I could have like my whole entire mixtape of what I wanted to hear. It's just something that, you know, brings me back and brings Akro back as well.
Yeah, that's just a really cool time, and I just, again, I wish I had those tapes. I don't know where they're at, but I would walk around at like high school, and I had like this little baby like boombox. It was like a Fisher Price like boombox, and I had all my tapes, and I would just play one, and just in class I would just play it, like walking in between classes with it. Oh, it was amazing, man. I wish I had those because they had like a lot of the R&B that I'm like, in my head I can hear it, but I'm like, I don't know what song it is. I'm like, I had a lot of that like 90s R&B, and that's what I collect. So I collect a lot of like the 90s R&B.
You better not let it out, bro. You're still affordable. You better be careful. That's gonna be the next wave, man.
Yeah, and I've seen those prices. So let's talk about prices, because I think that's another thing that you guys have seen over the years is like, yeah, I got this record for $1.50 at the flea market, and now I'm hearing that people are buying like, you know, $5,000 records, $11,000 records, like $100 of records. So what do you guys think about that? You know, and if you can, like, what are your thoughts about, you know, folks spending these hundreds and thousands of dollars on a 45 or records?
Yeah, I mean, if you got it,
if you have the money, then do it.
It must be nice. I wish that was the case, but no. I mean, I think it's I mean, there's a fine line, right? It's like one part of me likes to see as a collector and someone who I really do care about building a library and an archive of these things that I think are important, right? So that and to be able to share them. So one part of me sees someone and goes and buys a $5,000 record. As much as I want to say like, oh man, you're dumb. Like, why would you do that? If you're patient, you could have done X, Y, or Z, right? Or got it. But the other side of me, like, I'm impressed with people that like cared enough, right, to like go there and be like, wow, like that person cared so much that he was willing to dig that deep in their pocket. Like I may not be, but I can't hate on it, you know, but I also think that it's crazy coming from, you know, my angle would be like, I mean, some of those rare pieces, there's just no way of getting around it, right? It's a finite number of copies that exist, and the way collecting and the internet is these days, people have pretty much, I mean, pretty much a lot of these big rare records are it's like generally known how many exist in the world, kind of. I mean, not that some random basement can't pop up with a box of 50 of them or something, you know, but generally speaking, it's known how many are floating around in the world, and those at the cost of premium, they're not getting any cheaper, you know.
Pete's in the chat. It's something that I live by. I know Anthony lives by as well. Akro, we always say one day if you wait, it's gonna pop up.
Yeah, and I think patience
at the right
is
time.
key.
Like, you know, it's the right time, and you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna go buy this. Like it's if you're a collector, it's not even available to buy. So I've waited like over 10 years for a lot of records, and that one that pops up and is meant to be, like, it's meant to be. So
and it's tough. It's tough to see. It's tough to see the change. Someone, I think, for the first 15 to 20 years of me collecting records, like I saw it as if you walked into a room and said, "Hey, I have this rare record that, you know, maybe historically traded for $200." If you walked in and said it was 500, everybody would laugh you out of the room. Now someone's like, well, I'll give you 6, you know what I mean? Or there's 2 or 3 people. And that, I mean, maybe because, you know, the older they get, the harder they get, but that's a big change. You know, before it was like kind of like you'd be frowned upon if you were like, oh, why are you trying to, that's not what it's worth. You know, everybody would kind of stick to their guns, like, nah, well, we'll just hang out till the $200 one comes around, you know. Whereas nowadays it's like it's just it seems almost week by week. It is week by
it's
week, and
crazy.
people are dictating, like, no longer is it the average, it's the last highest plus 5 or
That's
whatever, or
crazy.
plus a couple hundred, which is crazy, like, I mean, if you have it, get it, and if you really want to get it, but a better strategy, and my strategy is, I'm trying to find out what the next $1,200 record is that's still 12 cents right now today,
Mm.
Yeah.
people may not be paying attention to, because a lot of those expensive records, before they were expensive records, they were just another one in the box, and most of the time, either maybe a famous DJ, or just even a scene in general, they pick up steam really quick. You see, even with some of these new releases, they pick up steam so fast that, I mean, and they're great songs. You know why people love them. So it's like, my thing is like, dig deep enough to find that next
Yeah.
one, and then when they hit, you're not like going, oh man, I just spent.
And soul is just one of those genres, which is something that I've always appreciated, is if you look, you will find a lot of great music and great 45s. And it doesn't even have to be expensive. It could be cheap, but it's something that's someone has not even heard of, and it could have that $1 million sound. So it's, as a collector, just getting out there, looking for new stuff. I think it's about getting those songs.
Well, and I think there's levels too. I think if you're a newer collector, or you're just starting out, like, do yourself a favor and go down to the Goodwill or go to the record store and hit those dollar bins. I mean, I've been at the record stores and I see these newer collectors walk in, and right away they're like, oh, is there expensive box behind the counter? Like, and I get it, because I want to look at those too, and I probably want what's in there too. But also, like, if I have, we probably own a majority, if not the whole catalog, from Smokey Robinson, The Miracles, from The Impressions, from like all these great bands that you could go and just buy dollar records, like, and most of them are probably sound better than a lot of those obscure records. The obscure records are cool, but like, build a good foundation, and then, to me, it's like, then work your way up to the levels of buying some of these more rare ones. Like, and plus, anybody could do it. Like, we could all, some rich dude that has endless money could just walk up, look at your whole box, buy them all, over offer on everything, and what good is that? It doesn't really show that that you're able to, that you have an ear for what you're listening to. And I think that's even better, is like, strike a balance, come through with those. And when you're, especially if you're DJing, I mean, people don't want to hear, the 5 record nerds in the room are like, oh, this is fucking crazy, whereas everybody else is like, what is this?
But then you throw on Brenton Wood, and then everyone goes
wild. The lid blows off the
and
ceiling
everyone's
with,
happy.
Brent Wood record, or like some $2 common record. So I think it's about striking a balance. But I would hope that people are really, if you love soul and you're buying soul records, just run some of those easy label, Brunswick from Chicago, Motown, go there and just grab them, just get them, that. There's so much great music for almost nothing, it's out there.
Yeah, no, that's something that I've seen in DJs. They're trying to go for that really rare stuff, and that really rare stuff is cool to listen to. Like, again, if you're into that music, it's like, this is music to my ears. But there's a lot of people out there that just like, that are not in tune with that stuff, and it's like, what is this? They do want to hear like that Brenton Wood, that Mary Wells. It just fills the dance floor. And and I've seen, just like, from talking to collectors, like George from Vinyl Life, and Mike Noriega, who sells a lot of these rare records. There's just so much money that's going. All these collectors just throwing like major money down, but it kind of takes away from the fun a little bit. I think that you guys hit on a point there. Like, it's cool to like just collect and build that collection over the years, where a lot of people are trying to like hit that home run and get like everything they can that's top dollar, and really kind of forget about just collecting and making it like a journey. They're trying to make it like a sprint,
No, and you're right. You're right. You hit the nail on the head, because I think that's probably, from my perspective, that's what some of, like, maybe someone that's newer to collecting, they don't realize, is they see someone holding a rare record and they're like, oh man, I want that. And it's like, I'll do anything, right? By next week, I'm going to have it. I'm going to figure out whatever I have to offer. And most of the time, or historically, that's not how I came up on any of the
Yeah.
records I have. It's like it's built over years and years of relationships with people, and that's the cool part about records is there is these relationships, these connections that you can make with all these people that are like probably not, I mean, of course in our own area they look like us, but we've been all over the world, and you go to these places where they're not even our same age, they don't look like us, but you pull out those records and you're instantly like you're in the club. It's
Yeah.
like, welcome in, come on over here, let me get you a beer, do you need somewhere to stay? Like sometimes we're even amazed, like, wow, these people are like,
so
why are they
nice.
being so nice to us? Like, we're cool with them too, like I would be the same way, but it's like it surprises you sometimes because you're like, wow, the hospitality and the love
Yeah.
from like perfect strangers,
Yeah.
all based on they're like make an assumption, like if this dude loves the records like me, then they got to be cool, which is 9 times out of 10 that's the case.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too, because this is something that I think is very interesting about you two, is really like your passion for playing records and going to different places to play these records, like in like an open table type setting, I guess, right? You guys will reach out to people that, like, for example, like in Spain, and be like, hey, we got records, we're showing up, like, what's the deal out there? And then you guys go out there and play. Can you talk about that, like traveling and meeting others that are collectors, or just people that are playing records in clubs? Can you talk about just how, what you're doing on that? I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, kind of just what we said, the power of the internet, Instagram, and the network you build through these relationship with these record people. And we enjoy traveling already, so we've traveled. We love to, which is this year has been very bad on
Sad.
that front, but no, usually 3, 4, 5 times a year, as much as we can with work allowing, or our regular, normal everyday life. Like we would like to travel. So if what we started doing is just reaching out to people, or even people reach out to us, they see that you travel, and then they're like, hey,
if you ever come here,
do
you
you ever
can play
think
at this night. Yeah. That's also how it happened too. Just like people seeing, they're like, oh, if you ever come here again, we'll set up a night. Or let's say we went somewhere on vacation, and then they, it's also all through the internet. If they see our pictures, they're like, next time you come back, and then we'll be like, okay, well, we'll go back.
Yeah, and we
Set up a night.
did, that was cool. It's cool being able to bring those records out to places like, well, especially the UK was, is huge for soul music. They love Soul 45. So being able to go out there and hang out with, like, I mean, we're hanging out with like these 60-something-year-old white dudes, and they're like, literally, they're crying into their beers over like the same rolitas that we love. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
to see that, and we're just looking at each other like, we're like by Ireland. There's a castle outside. It looks like
A castle.
literally like a castle. It looks like Lucky Charms. Like a troll is gonna come out or something. Like it's like these like ancient towns with like fog and I mean, dude, it looks like a fairy tale, like a storybook. And then like you go in there and they're like pulling out these like $1,000 rare records that people out here would just kill to have, and it's like crazy. Like what an experience to go there, and they love it. Like, it opened our eyes to the fact that the rest of the world, as with your show, you're interviewing a lot of people that are involved with the soul scene and everything out here. Like it's taking it's shining on the rest of the world. Like people are paying attention to what we're doing. When we go out there, they ask a lot of questions, and people are like, wow, like, and we don't realize how much soul music is ingrained in your everyday life growing up out here. Like that's something that's kind of been the soundtrack that a lot of us probably don't even realize that it we take it for granted how much it's like our parents listen to it and stuff, and they approach it in a different way. They didn't necessarily have it like that.
Yeah. Also, like when you did DJ that Soul Weekender up by Ireland and in Europe, but it was way up there, close to Ireland. Just there's a lot of people were just a lot older, like let's say maybe over like 50, and the vibe is just very different there.
Right.
Like me and Anthony, like one song came on and we ended up dancing together, like to a slow song, and that's not their thing. Like usually there they just dance to Northern Soul, and they never dance together. So everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, we've never seen
Yeah, we
anyone
came off
dance
the dance floor and
together."
everyone's like, "Oh my god, I haven't never seen that." How did you? And we're like, we felt like kind of
oh.
embarrassed after. Like, damn, all right,
Wow.
like you guys don't like that's what you do, right? You like kind of dance to these songs, like close. That's what these songs are for, right? And they're like, "Oh, I don't know, we never really like did it like that before." So that was cool.
Well, a lot of the Northern Soul is like more upbeat, more danceable two-step.
dance like next
Separate,
to each
yeah.
other, but like everyone like facing forward, like that's kind of how they get down, So
Um,
but it's cool to see. It's cool to see. I mean, when Stephanie did Smith's night in Mexico City, and you see like the passion that they have, the way that they come at it, it's like
And they don't even really know. A lot of people don't know English, but they know the words.
yeah,
It's really cool.
it's cool to go to these different places, and just it doesn't the records will unite us all. It just reminds you that we're all the same all over, whether you're in fucking Lucky Charms, Ireland, or you're in California, or it doesn't really matter. We played that same trip right before COVID. We hit Paris and we were able to play. Shout out to Victor in Paris.
Victor in Paris.
They invited us to Paris, and we ended up playing like at this tiki bar. It was like tiki drinks and oldies in Paris, which was like amazing. So it's like
that was one of the coolest experiences.
I mean, the best. It's the best feeling to be able to just go there, and like we're not asking them for a ton of money. We're doing it because we love it, and we would go to Paris anyway. So it's like, all right, let's go there for besides cheese and champagne, we could play some records, Why not?
Yeah. I wanted to ask a question that George Lopez, the comedian, asked Morrissey on his show. Why do you think Hispanics really relate so much to Morrissey? Do you guys have maybe an answer on that?
I feel like, well, my explanation, I'm sure everyone has a different explanation, but when you think about and you actually go to Manchester, England, it's very gloomy and different, but also they were an industrial city. So most of the people where they were working hard labor jobs, and a lot of them were also immigrants from Ireland that moved to the UK. So I feel like it is kind of the same as like, you're Mexican, like maybe, you're Chicana, and like your family, your grandparents worked in the fields, worked in the canneries, worked really hard, but you're also like, you come from an immigrants, and it's kind of the same thing, and you're also like a passionate person. So I also feel like we're passionate about our feelings and about the music we listen to. So I feel like that does have plays a part in it, even though it's like a totally different world. It's still kind of like the same circumstances.
Okay. I always thought like, and then some people that I've, introduced that type of sound to them, they're like, man, this sounds like, rock en español.
Yeah.
This kind of has that like.
It does. I mean, I think a lot of the rock en español was kind of evolved out of those sounds too. You're right. I never really put that together too. I was just like Chicanos or Mexican Americans just love some good heart wrenching, like just some real, just like dagger in the heart. Like that makes the saddest songs make me feel the happiest. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, I love this. Like, there's a lot of people that can't. If maybe we come over, they're like, why are you listening? Why are you listening to this stuff? Can we put something on? Like, no, this is it right here, man. This makes me happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, the oldies just definitely have that feel as well. It's like that heart-wrenching stuff. Do you guys want to throw on another record to see if
sure.
we can see if we can try to play some more music here?
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, I see about 15 people on right now and a few that are on the Instagram. Again, we're on YouTube live right now. So you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to come over and check us out here.
All right. So I'm going to play one from my stack here. So this is one that I'm going to play the Decisions on York. So this is a record that I waited many years to have. So just like the conversation we had earlier, this was kind of one of those ones that, it finally does come around. And when I was younger and collecting, I would listen to this song and I would go, oh man, I don't think I'm ever gonna have a copy of that record. And lo and behold, some years go by and it lands in your lap in a way. And so this was one of those for me that they'll have to pry it out of my hands at my funeral. It's gonna stay my cold dead hands. I won't say where I'm getting buried, but no, this is one of those ones that just a favorite, and I'll let you guys see if you like it too. Here's the Decisions on York.
Nice. So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, we have a few on the Instagram. Do you guys have any questions at all? Definitely drop some questions if you have any. I wanted to talk about too. You guys have like a really cool Impala, right? Like a white Impala. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Can you see it? I
Yeah,
don't know.
62. I don't know if you can see the fender probably peeking out behind us.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that.
62 kind of goes with the jams, I guess, right? We got to have something to ride around and listen.
Yeah. So is that something new or something that you've had?
No, that's newer. What, maybe last
Yeah, we just got
year?
it in
Yeah,
the
right in the
summer.
beginning of COVID, we had been looking and finally found the right one. So we took a drive out to where?
Idaho.
Yeah, somewhere near Montana, up in the mountains near Montana. So it's like kind of like that fairy tale story of like some old man had a barn full of cars.
Wow.
Got lucky. Yeah, so it was like meant to be.
Yeah, it's meant to be. It got
Yes.
us through COVID, cruising. through
Yeah, that was like
COVID.
one of the only ways we made it through COVID. Oh, like,
Is there a big car scene in your area? You guys are in San Jose, right? So is there a huge car scene there and you guys just cruise it?
Huge.
yeah, huge car scene. It was birthplace of Lowrider magazine was here in San Jose. So there's tons of cruise nights. My dad always had cars, so kind of grew up always saying one of these days, Stephanie's family has
Yeah, we all
cars.
have
So
cars,
we all like
and I'm from King and Story, so that's that was a big, scene. So I just grew up with that, and it's kind of something that was part of life. You never realized it was like a thing, like
Mhm.
somewhere that they don't have in other cities or
Right.
states, or countries. You just kind of grew up around it. So, yeah, we
So
wanted a
recently we're
car.
finally
So.
able to make it happen, and it's been cool, man. It's been like real cool to be able to cruise during COVID, and
Yeah, and I'm able to cruise like with my family members. Like my aunt
yeah,
comes out, my uncle, so it's really cool.
Yeah, I have a lowrider myself. I have a 1960 Coupe de Ville Cadillac.
Oh,
that's a good
nice.
year too.
Yeah, it's like a blood red. It's really cool. Like, well, my family, they've always been into cars. All my uncles have been into cars. That's something that they've done their whole teen life and on. And so it's always been a thing with our family to, cruise it like that. So yeah, I had to get one. I had a 64 before, but it was like a four-door. It was a 1964 Cadillac.
Nice.
But it was four-door. I was like, I liked that year. It was a cool year, but it was like,
Just
and
have
then that's when,
extra cab.
yeah, and then that was like when the gas was like, remember when gas was like $10?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was like, oh man. So yeah, I got rid of it. I was too young to have that car. I didn't know what I was doing. And yeah, so I recently, it's been like 3-4 years I've had this Cadillac now. And yeah, it's just like, it's such a oldies and soul music and hip hop too. Like, even like classic rock. I love classic rock and all that stuff. So rolling in that car, it's just so much fun. It's something that I think Californians have over pretty much any
Oh,
other state. I don't think there's any state that kind of
for
does it like
sure.
us.
it's like going on a carnival ride every weekend. You get in
Mhm.
it, and it's like I feel like I'm on a roller coaster or something. Not that it's going fast, but just like it's like a something special.
And when you're driving, everyone is so nice to
Yeah,
you.
everybody's your friend. Everybody's waving at you, talking off at the store. Hey man, what kind of car is that? Or my dad has one. Or everybody's your buddy. It's like, man, how come if I come here in my truck, everybody looks at me like I'm gonna rob this store, but I show up in this thing and everybody's like I got friends all
Exactly.
waving. So yeah, it's been cool. We actually got we have a battery powered portable setup we built for the
Mhm.
trunk of the car. So now we can just pull up to the spot, and we got two portable turntables with all battery powered with a mixer and a little speakers,
Mhm.
a little table. So
What?
yeah, we
Yeah,
got the
we're
whole
ready.
like down inside the trunk pan. It fits in there real nice. So we're ready, man. So we're just waiting
Wow.
for the summer to hit.
That's one thing that I've noticed just us talking and just like your craftiness on getting even the show to taking calls and the wiring and everything, like that's really cool.
Yeah, hey man,
Yeah.
COVID, we got time on our hands to come up with stuff.
Yeah, for reals.
The DJ, we I don't know how we did it, but we would DJ maybe at least twice a week, but sometimes it'd be up to 4, and
Yeah,
it would
we
just
had
be like
some.
nonstop. So when COVID stopped, we're like, oh, we still need a DJ. We still need to make this happen. So if it wasn't for COVID, I mean, we wouldn't have this setup. And I think even after COVID, it's something that we're probably still going to be doing is the radio
Yeah, it's
shows
been
because
cool
it's
to focus on it more.
yeah, and like I can't even say it enough, but the calls and dedications are really what makes you want to do it, and it makes it really special. And just hearing other people's stories of their love lives or their not so love lives or just what they want to hear. So and it brings us together, especially if we get to DJ here, we don't get to DJ in other places. Those people in other places can you know come hear us.
Yeah, kind of feels it. I mean, especially the Smith and Morrissey show. Not surprisingly, but like I think every show almost we have like a heartfelt like memorial one, and it almost feels like it's
Yeah.
like dang, like they entrusted us with this. Like we're so nervous. Like when that one comes on, like I can't screw this up. Like if I just hit the fader the wrong way one time right now, like I'm gonna screw up this guy's like heartfelt dedication to his grandma or something. So it's like, and it's
Yeah, people have
cool.
called in saying that my grandpa just died. Can you play this song for him? Or all the way to like play the first song that I ever like I danced to with my wife at an indie nightclub, and now we're married 18 years.
Wow.
Can you play that? So it's really heartfelt.
Yeah, it shows you. I mean, it really does. It touches you. I mean, that's the common thread between all of that. Whether it's the Smiths and Morrissey or it's these oldies, like it really does. Like it touches you on such a deep level, and it's cool to be able. Like, I think that even me, I know Stephanie the same way. When I didn't never start collecting records to like play a radio show or do a DJ night or anything. You know, it's just like eventually it got so much and the collection got so big that it's like people just always were asking like, hey man, like when are you gonna come over here and share that stuff, or like how can you get it out besides just inviting people over or something. So
Yeah.
it touches people so deep. I know when we went to Detroit, we shed like a tear inside Motown, like when we
Yeah, I
got in
literally
there
cried.
and they're like playing these songs and they bring you over into the studio, right? Where the
Wow.
majority, like 90% of that stuff was made, and you're standing in a room and it kind of even just looks like my garage right here. It's like a very small, like nondescript. And you get in there and then you start really thinking about all these songs and like the emotion and all those feelings that they put in those records. And then they like bring you over and they're like, oh, turn around. Like you're standing in the place right where they sang My Girl, where the Temptations stood right there, in a line, or like, dang, like a tear will come to your eye. Like we were like, dang, it's so powerful,
Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, that's the thing that I loved about music always, is that emotion. Like that's, I think, a big reason why I like Bjork a lot. It's because she has like those strings and it just really tears at your heart and it's like,
And then
so
I've been to Iceland, and it wasn't until then I was like, wow, I really understand where she's coming from. Like when you're there and you're like, wow, this is like so beautiful. Like I want to sing like Bjork in Iceland. Like
and
that's how I would sing.
And the landscape kind of like is like that. It's like her songs, it's like one
yeah.
blizzard and the next minute it's like summer and you're on the beach. You're like, wait a minute, we were just in a snow blizzard. Now we're on the beach. Now I'm in a mountain with a horse, and then now I'm over here in a hot spring, hot tub on top of a mountain. Like that's how it is in Iceland, like all within like an hour.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I had a friend that went there many years ago, and this is crazy. I actually got him into Bjork. I'm like, bro, just listen to this music, feel it out, see what you think, because he likes like a lot of that deep stuff, and so he listened to it, and he became such a fan that he flew to Iceland to like just be in that area,
just to see it.
Yeah, and he loved it. Like I want to go. I mean, I've seen her in concert 2 times, and I cried like the whole time. And I don't care. I don't care if anybody knows that I'm crying, because I was crying.
You heard it, internet. You heard it.
Yeah, I was crying, dude. That girl is, oh man, she's like one of my faves as well. So she could do no wrong in my heart. So
that's dope, man. And that's a true fan right there. Like, let me hear it. I want to go see where this is made. Like us, that we made the pilgrimage to Detroit. We had to go to Detroit. It's like, I have to go to Motown. I have to. We like love it so much. Like one of these days they're gonna knock it down, or it's not gonna be there.
So many records there too. So it's just so fun to be able to go to a record store and buy like all the Motown songs you want, and it's amazing. It's such an amazing feeling, because you can't really do that here, and it's very reasonably priced. I mean, at the time it was like 2 years ago, but maybe the prices went up. But also, we have a friend there, Brad Hales. He does own 2 record stores there, and he made our trip even better.
Absolutely.
He has an amazing collection, like one of the best collections I've ever seen in my life. And he invited us to his house. He invited us to his record room. Then he said, you know what? It's not summer anymore. Go through my records. If you want to buy anything, let me know, and I'll see if I'm willing to give it up. But I'll probably give it up because it's not summer and I don't play those records now. So it goes back to what Akro said, is like being there at the right time. Like I was able to get like a couple records that I thought I would never get or even have the chance of buying, because I mean, they just don't come up.
Right place.
And you're at the right time at the right place. And like he said, it's taking those people just to know that it's going to a good home and they're passing it down to you. So it's really awesome to have those experiences.
Yeah. I wanted to kind of wrap everything up here. Been on for like an hour. But I wanted to let you guys kind of share where people can find you guys and what what show that you guys have, and I'll put all this in the links, by the way, folks. If you guys are tuning in or watch this at a later time, I'm going to put the links in the description so that you guys can find their show. But just for you guys, if you want to just kind of shout out the show there that you guys are doing.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and do that every day like Sunday?
Yeah, so every day is like Sunday, 1 p.m. on Mixler.com. I'm thinking about doing a Twitch, not sure yet, but definitely go on Mixler.com/everydays-like-Sunday. You can go to the show reel section and hear all the past episodes.
Yeah, and you can find Stephanie's at Ambitous0utsider, right?
I
On
forgot about that part.
Instagram, outsider with a 0. So Ambitous0utsider with a 0.
Which is also a Morrissey song, but not a lot of people know that.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, dig deep. At Akro1, AKRO, and the number 1. You can follow me if you'd like to see some records and maybe a sneak peek of where we're going next. And then we also have a joint Instagram at Flipside Lovers. So for our DJ stuff, which we haven't been doing a ton of DJ stuff, but we also have a YouTube channel. Flipside Lovers is the YouTube channel. You can go there. We've been posting. There's there's a good few hours of music at least there. We're adding. I haven't added anything lately, but we will be updating. And there's some cool records on there. There's some stuff on there that's first time on YouTube. So if you kind of like either some cool oldies to listen to, or maybe even some more obscure ones, check that out. Flipside Lovers at YouTube.
Nice. Yeah, and I really highly appreciate you guys coming on. Like I said, I mean, just listening to the shows that you have, very high quality there, folks. I love what they do. They do take requests. You can call in, leave a voice message, and they will play it. It's awesome. And yeah, so just love everything that they're doing, and want to give them some more love and put their name out there as much as I can help. I'd love to do that. So that's why they're here. But yeah, so thank you again for tuning in, and thank you guys for being on the show. And I hope to one day see you guys do your thing at like an open table, or meet you guys in person and just like party.
Likewise, shout out to Universoul Groove, man. Well, hopefully we definitely we'll link up one day in the future. We like traveling down your way too, and if you're ever in San Jose or even the Bay,
I will look you guys up. We would definitely have to make that happen.
I gotta pay forward that all that record karma and all that hospitality I was talking about. I gotta pay it forward. So come through, man. Hit me up. The guest wing is always prepped and ready.
Nice. All right. Well, I appreciate it again, guys. We will talk soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
You're watching Universoul Groove. Peace out.